whatever way it presents. And then you can gently open the eyes if they are not open already. So now, me looking at you, you looking at me, you are that which you are, and you are now experiencing this shared space between you and I. And that who you are is actually looking at me. And I am being now who I am. Not to confuse anybody, but this is really fascinating to me, that you are inside there and I am inside here. And through these lenses, we paint a picture, or we tint it in such a way so that it looks perfect for us to experience, exactly how we like it. And I think that that's really fascinating. So depending on the tint of the lens is depending on how we define ourselves. The process that exists within meditation and yoga is to get to the most authentic experience of who we are. And that's such a lofty statement, but to take that understanding that comes from such an ancient place and then fast forward it and put it into your experience as playful as you possibly can, and then begin to see what comes out of it. So maybe I'm hinting towards not taking yourself so seriously. We could generalize it as that. But I'm also saying that we can take what we're experiencing and place it into a realm of understanding that's coming from the most deepest place. And as we take it into that deep experience, we can also apply it as generally as we possibly can. And that is where the science comes in, within the yogic experience, where meditation exists. Not only science, but also art. The ability to apply it in the most general of ways. This very question, who am I, in relation to that which is occurring right now? And that which is occurring, as we all know, is very much outside, but very much inside. And that inner and outer relationship becomes what we choose it to be. So those little lenses. Hence Wednesday is great. Why? Because I say so. Yeah, right, like that. But because I say so is only a part of the understanding. So just because I say so, it doesn't really get me so far. It gets me as far as the lenses take me, so as I produce them. But what happens if I keep refining my question? Well, who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Just because I say so begins to run out. So it's that piece of the meditation that's taking you on the thought journey, or taking you on the story, that leads you so beautifully, and then all of a sudden, before you know it, you're like, wait a minute, I'm just sitting here and watching this story happen. And then you bring yourself back. So it's the refining of that. So your thoughts are happening because you say so. Your emotions are occurring because you say so. And everything which comes out of it is happening because you say so. So this is why Wednesday becomes so great. Because I've said that. But what also is to take into consideration is that if I am the one that is creating this, then the responsibility of that begins to have weight. So as this, because I say so, begins to run out, because it's thinning, and the reason why it's thinning is because your awareness is beginning to infiltrate, or being able to access the very center experiences of those thoughts. And what is infusing that thought formation is the very nature of what is Wednesday, independent of whatever you say it is, independent of that. So this is naturally occurring. Naturally we experience two things: that which I say so and that which is naturally happening. And meditation is teaching us how to take those two, sometimes complete opposites, and begin to work them to the point where they become together. So that we have the depth, but we have this incredible playful attitude about this life. So this is your say. You get to choose that, what it is that you are experiencing. And at the depth, that which you choose has no relevancy. It doesn't matter any longer. And that is so important, because if that which is moving through the mind is not the most positive, it's okay, because you've created that somewhere along the way. And it doesn't really matter, because what is happening is a very natural infusion of intelligence that has this huge magnitude. I mean, we're talking the whole earth, Mother Earth right down to the core, and we're talking about the sky, the atmosphere, and then deep space is all kind of one. So that intelligence is what we have available, this universal experience. So it becomes touching on so many levels to just see yourself as one little person right on this planet, which has all the say in the world like that, because I say so. Which then begins to amplify in its playful beauty, because as you say this, there's Mars, there's Saturn, there's Venus, there's all of these incredible energetic players that are influencing that which we have going on here on this planet. So from this little tiny experience to the most expanded form of, that's actually what we're talking about when we say human potential. And this is why I'm saying it's so great to be a human being, because we have that choice. We have that opportunity to experiment, and from experimentation, experience, and from experience, gain understanding, and then choose something else. Or study the course. So all this comes from a simple question: who am I? It's the contemplation. But what is growing is such a profound intelligence. But that's an existential kind of a format. The next question that I have is, why are you here? And you can have your eyes open or closed. Why are you here? Once again, the eyes can open or stay closed. Now this part I like a lot, asking this question to myself. Why am I here? Here meaning in this body. Why am I here? In relation to this room, in relation to all of you, in relation to the incredible and interesting predicaments I get myself inside here. That is a good question to ask. On the most general level, why am I here? Why am I here? Why am I here? Develops and invokes confidence. And this is what it's all about. Invoking a high level of confidence, infusing it inside the cellular structure so that you can feel it way down into your bones, this unshakable resonance. And that confidence comes through establishing a network of communication within yourself. To be brave enough to just simply ask that, well, why am I here? Why did I choose this? So what I'm talking about is life purpose. And the only way to really connect to life purpose is to ask those big questions. And what comes out of it is intention. So intention gives meaning to the reason why you're standing there. On the most simple of levels, on the most gross level, on the most playful, but also on the deepest reasoning, that resonance that transcends even space and time, like it just keeps going. Now, if we can establish that reasoning why, then we become very linear and streamlined in our approach. So I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but life has a very interesting way of taking our concentrated mind, our concentration, and scattering it across 15 or 16 different things at once. And what our instinct is to consolidate it, draw it back. So we need rest days, Saturday, Sunday rest. So we are instinctually wanting to bring it back. But the way that this creative world works, this playful world, it almost like it's playing funny little, psst, come here, psst, psst, because life is that exciting that it pulls us back out. So asking this question, well, why am I here, is actually establishing an ability to choose one intention. So one reason why you're here, which can be applied to everything that you do. So all of a sudden, simplification is there. Simplified. Mind resting. You're only doing one thing. And to achieve that single word of intention just takes time. It takes time, you being present, walking around in your day, and establishing a relationship. That loop that we often talk about, that biofeedback. So we have that constantly going. You're letting me know what's going on just by your subtle body language. So then we become settled and set into that true north concept. So you know compass as true north? That is so important to be dialed in to the cellular structure of your being, right there at the very core. And then you can take that compass that's been set to true north and then go wherever you want with it and not ever getting lost. We don't get lost. We know exactly why. We know who we are. And the beautiful thing is that it's not hard-lined. It's open-ended. And this is how wisdom tradition works. We gain the ability to have confidence in the answer that is being received, to the point where we can let it go. And then it can begin to evolve and transform the very experience that we're having inside this life. So once again, this is meditation. Taking those many facets of reasoning and just simply dissolving them, simplifying them into just one thing. We have body, and then we have multiple fingers. We have mind, and then we have all the content of the mind. So it always seems to be this dance of something that is very general and broad, but then something that is quite specific. And we have a body, just like we have an intention. But the body happens to have a finger. And your intention happens to have an application. We have 2 fingers, 2 applications. Does this make sense? So meditation is the tool that we use just to simply steady ourselves. And this is so much fun. And at the same time, you're going to be sweating a little bit, because you will potentially not enjoy it. Because, just for a moment though, because what we're doing is we're actually challenging ourselves. Not somebody else challenging us. It's actually easier for someone else to challenge us. It's more combusting though. There tends to be a little bit more heat and friction. But when we challenge ourselves, the rule book is quite different, because you know every trick that you have in order to get out of the question, to distract yourself, to orchestrate a scenario of some kind through subtle suggestion. And then all of a sudden you end up forgetting about that practice altogether. I don't know if you've ever come across that. It's like Monday is the resolution that this is happening, and then by Friday it's disappeared completely. Or maybe even by Tuesday. Or Monday afternoon. Yeah. Monday afternoon, that's what it is. Is it Monday I'm in love or Friday I'm in love? That song, Monday? Friday. It's because you forgot all about it. Monday resolved once again. Haha. Good one. That was a good one. So it's gaining the ability to see the joy that exists within the challenge that we're putting forth. So we want evolution, don't we? We want something has to change. Transformation is necessary. This is, I guarantee you, this is not even mystical, magical activity happening up here, but I can guarantee you that at least once a day, you have a slight pondering as to, how do I get to that next place? And some of you might even go as far as to say, God, just this one time, can you help me get? So it's already built in. Some way, somehow, it's happening. So now it's recognizing the fact that this is actually what you truly want. And if it's at that depth of what you truly want, and it's always the depth, right? And this is why we get so apprehensive, because we feel like, oh, well, maybe we're missing out up here. Maybe there's something that we're missing out on. So what we do is we take the depth of our human experience and we just bring it up to where all the fun is happening. And we experience it. And the sensations that come from that is profound. Like just awareness alone is profound. Breathing through your nostrils with that intention, with that clarity, with that understanding. Mm-hmm. One more. One more suggestion of contemplation. And this is, where are you going? This is the third one. Where are you going? And the eyes can be opened or closed. And the eyes can stay closed, or you can open them gently. So now this to me is one of the best tools. All of them are subtle, but this one is very, very subtle. And this understanding of where we are going is always there. Wouldn't you say? So let's do an experiment, because I know most of us are like, psh, I don't really know. And there's actually a huge amount of comfort that is developed within just being comfortable with the fact that we don't know. But I can guarantee you that you already do know. So if I asked you the question, where are you going? That was the question that I asked. Can you show it to me? And now the only reason why you would not be able to show me on the subtle level is because you've just not ever exercised it. But we all know. So let's see. I'll show you right now. This is where I'm going. I'm smiling. Do you feel that? Now I'll give you a little bit more information for you to use within your contemplation, but it's based upon who I am and why I'm here. These two things. Absolute confidence in understanding. Confidence in understanding of those two things. Who I am in relationship to my environment and why I'm here. So if there's an emotional anything, I'm continuously developing as a working project through it, which is very different than just pushing it down and then attempting to study the course. No. This is fun. Remember, this is so much fun. It's coming up. Oh, there it is. Whew. And I get to do something with it. That's why it's coming up. I get to do something with it. And that refining of understanding within the confidence is then what is resonating through you as the direction of where you're going. And this direction of where you're going is actually pointed very clearly into where you come from. Where you come from. I'm sure of it. All human beings have contemplated that. Where do I come from? Where is that place? Which planet? How far off? Or maybe I came from the water. Or maybe God just planted me here somehow, and now here we are. We're just here. But it's encoded within that. The resonance of your direction is actually the beacon that's taking you home. And this place of home, just like a locket that you wear, with your favorite person, maybe my face is in there. A little heart. I was just joking. This is joking. Kind of joking. So you remember, right? You look, just like a locket, you see it inside there, and you say, oh, yes, I remember, I know. Gives you comfort. Home. So this locket that you enter into is your meditation. And I'm not attempting to sound romantic, it's just the truth. So even if we just think on a DNA level or genetics, like it's all coming from one place, right? Single cell organism, it's all kind of building evolution. If we trace it all back, it becomes just very simple. So that source experience is what we share. And it's found right deep inside of you and expressing itself. So these questions that we ask in a contemplative way are tools to just clear it out, so that then you have free access to this source experience. And if you're ever interested in the Tao, so Lao Tzu's work, which is a beautiful body of work, salt of the earth kind of knowledge, like really just chop wood, collect water, before and after enlightenment, that kind of attitude. And within that writing, it talks about source on a continuous basis. And if we're able to connect to the source experience that we have, all things make sense. All things make sense. The puzzle to life is now making sense. So it doesn't mean that the puzzle no longer exists, or that the work does not any longer need to be applied. But what it's saying is that now you have understanding as to why this puzzle piece is not quite fitting. And then if you just relax into it, your perfect guide is found within inside of you. Not only inside of you, but all around you. So a cool little breeze at the perfect time, or a shift in an energy pattern right when you need it, all starts to make very good sense. So we could get theatrical and say you are not alone, but I'm not going to get theatrical about that. Interesting contemplation, very interesting and very applicable to meditation practice. Meditation practice is such a gift that we give ourselves. And it is something that is a science, something that is a technology, and it revolves around mind and body. And what communicates between the two is your breathing. So this continuous life giver. No thought or emotion or movement or great life exists without this inhale-exhale mechanism. So if in fact it is a science, then that means that what we are touching upon is 0.5% of the potential that exists within the human being as we start to explore the mind. Because that's really what meditation is doing, exploring the mind in relation to the nervous system, in relation to the body, and how this mind-body communicates with the environment. And we're heading into generations, so that's plural, of human beings no longer looking outside, but looking more inside. And I don't necessarily mean just sitting in meditation, but what I mean is that we're dawning, just actually now dawning into an age of where the science instruments are getting sophisticated and sensitive enough that we can start to really explore what the mind is doing, what the brain is doing, and how all of that works with our nervous system. So a complete healing method can actually be extracted from mind science, from neuroscience, because that that relationship is so tight. It's a loop. So what you think about is experienced within your body. And that's just how it is. So a connection within the brain that is working this way sends pulses, impulses throughout your body. So if we ever want to become really healthy and clean, all we need to do is just address the activity within the mind, which is so great because it's so easy. It just takes more than one day, that's all. It's consistency. I had a great conversation with one of the very educated PhD individuals that helped with building the science of self. And we were talking about this very thing, the power of nod, which is sound, and meditation, and the influence that it has on the brain in its ability to take the wiring and then reposition it. And that repositioning is based upon what is naturally occurring inside that human being as being optimal. And the determining factor on whether or not this happens is prolonged exposure. That's actually the determining factor. So one day will feel great if you're into meditation, but it will not make that transformation occur. It's the prolonged exposure over an extended period of time. And that's why science is so great, because science begins to give the rhymes and reasons as to why we should do anything. And we take so much confidence into that science, whatever science it is. So we're establishing a whole new field that you're actually a part of. So, good job. Wherever you came from, you landed really well, I believe, in the space-time continuum. It's just, here you are. Lots of amazing things are happening. Any questions? Well, shall we sit? Oh yeah, please. Why not? Yeah, this is the ceremonial questioning.
It's Wednesday.
It is Wednesday, such a great.
I always ask one question.
You do.
I'm really fascinated by brain entrainment and the nod, and also what you designed for the meditation protocol that we did last spring. And I'm just kind of in conflict a little bit because when I go into brain entrainment with that sort of stuff, I go into a complete stillness. There is no questions. There's just emptiness. And then you get this sort of bliss rush kind of feeling that you wake up into. And go, oh, what was that? You know, that sort of thing. But you don't ask the question, who am I? You don't ask, why am I here? And where am I? Which I find fascinating. But when you do ask those questions, I guess each individual, it would be for each individual specific to them. It may be collective, but would you not agree that it would be very specific?
Very specific.
Like, that's it. Yours is yours. Mine is mine.
Yeah, until you get to a place where everything becomes the same. And that's how we know, that's how this topic can be taught, is that we know that there's these landmarks that exist, that where everyone comes to a consensus of understanding. So that from those points of understanding, we actually break apart and go into our individual experience, only to come back to that common.
Wow.
And we see it with children all the time. And how information is passed through school systems and groups of individuals.
They get programmed, right?
Programmed, yeah. I mean, that's a strong word.
It's very strong.
It's very strong. They're taught, I mean, we're all taught on a continuous, we're learning. And our influences are actually really important. So who you surround yourself with, whether we like it or not, we're mirroring them. On some level, we're just mirroring them. And there's that connection that is getting stronger. So now going back to your original question, there's a few different levels. So with listening to nod, what it's dealing with is the general noise that occurs within an individual's mind. And at the same time, it's giving instruction. So that's really what you're listening to. So if you're listening to a sound with instruction, you want to get the instruction piece and then apply the instruction to your daily practice. So it's not a substitute for meditation, it's actually a learning tool of meditation. Mm-hmm. So one of those major barriers for individuals is that the mind will just not steady itself. It has challenge becoming quiet. And that we've trained ourselves to be attracted by shiny, bright things. Magpies. So we get distracted very easily. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it becomes like a hammer. And you use that hammer skillfully, or whatever tool, to build something, so that then you can sit on it.
Okay, and so in my case, I go into like this stillness.
Which is very good, because then this is developing your ability to get to know it, right? So if you are teaching someone a topic, let's say building fine furniture, such mm-hmm. as yourself, then you have to repeat a piece of instruction a few times generally mm-hmm. before it starts to become second nature. Yeah. And then before it becomes true second nature, they must take a period of time and use that information. And so that's what's happening is, if the brain is getting stuck in a particular loop, emotional loop generally, or a thought loop, then to break it is of the utmost importance, because that's the only way that we'll be able to get to that next place, is if we just shake it off, because it's a loop. And if you've determined for yourself that that loop is no longer conducive, it's not acting in favor, but it's just tired and needs to go rest but doesn't know how, you can stay there for a very long time. So a simple method of binaural sound is taking information from the left side of the brain and applying it to the right, information from the right side of the brain and applying it to the left, so that then the brain itself and the mind experience gets to see that information from a different perspective. Mm-hmm. And that perspective is almost like an outside individual giving you therapy and saying, well, this is then mm-hmm. a proper direction to take to then resolve.
It really works.
Mm-hmm.
It truly, really works.
It really works. Yeah.
Fascinating. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other last questions?
Hello?
Hello.
When you say the puzzle pieces, everything starts to make more sense,
mm-hmm.
are you implying that everything happens for a reason?
Mm-hmm. I am. Yeah, I am implying that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do you want me to elaborate?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'll elaborate a little bit, because I could talk a lot about this. Everything happens for a reason. For one, because you decide it. And all of these micro decisions that we make throughout the day start to form and shape the entire event which is occurring within your life. So we are subconsciously actually guiding the flow of this, let's call it the source. So this universal energy that's moving. And it kind of works in the same way as free will. So we're allowed to construct it however we want. Now the second way that everything happens for a reason is because of nature's law. Naturally things occur. Naturally there's a period of time for a tree to be a seed, to then grow a little root system, to grow a green sprout, big tree, fruit, and then eventually the tree is finished and then it expires and moves on to the next, becomes a part of the earth again. So that example is everything which is naturally occurring happens for a reason. This mysterious intelligence which governs over everything I always use this analogy of all rivers flow towards the ocean. We have seasons. Somehow the planet is spinning at a rapid rate, simultaneously orbiting around a sun, and then all of that activity is hurling forward. And that all happens for a reason. So what the discoveries of the human being is to understand, well, why is that happening? Why is that happening? And this is now the evolution of science and philosophy and medicine and all of that good stuff. Environmental science. Everything happens for a reason, which is so beautiful. And then the last thing I'll say about it is there's a mapping system for the consciousness that is used within yoga. So the first is the yogi, and this could take up to 800 years or more to achieve that level. And then from there you have Siddha level concentration, you have Nath, you have Muni, and to become Muni level concentration within the yogic structure could take hundreds of thousands of years, because this is all reincarnation based information. So at that heightened level, the Rishi level, they say that to become this Maharishi, you must be born into as many wombs as there are experiences to have. So what that translates into is that you are in the perfect place at the perfect time because this is your experience.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Shall we sit? We have 4 phases of this meditation: body, breath, mind, and dynamic stillness. And the objective is to become very tuned to how those 3 qualities of space found within body, breath, mind are making way to become one shared space. And this shared space comes through your ability to find comfort and relaxation, your ability to become aware of this rhythmic movement of prana in and out of the nostrils, in and out of your body, which is the breath, and your skill of being able to see between thought, at the spaciousness that exists within the mind. And honing that concentrated inner gaze to one single point. And over the course of your meditation, what begins to reveal itself is what exists inside the space. Inside that space is a very dynamic quality to this nature. It is the very essence of the building blocks which we use to create it all. It is pure creativity. And as you're sitting and deepening, apply a conscious breath, drawing it a little bit deeper in and slowly breathing out, creating sama vritti, which means same action. This sama vritti unlocks and reveals the meaning to who we are, the meaning to why we're here, and where we're going. Keeping the eyes closed, let's bring full, deep breaths into the body. Keeping the eyes closed, bring your gaze into the space just there in front of you. In front of you meaning the moment that you realize that you're looking, right there, just in front of that moment. And very slowly, gently, without rushing, allow the eyes to open. That was very good. So if there was a take home from this, I would suggest at looking at that contemplative question of why you are here, and apply it to the emotions and your thoughts. So, why am I here? Here I am again, why? And use it as a tool to be able to see. And that's what it is. Rubbing the eyes a little bit and being able to see, oh wait, this is why I'm here. And a directional follow-up is that this is a choice. You do have choice within there, and you choose to be here at this particular time. No matter how destined it is, you've chose this. And that's the beauty. And all is subject to transformative change. I just snuck that change word in there. Nobody really appreciates that word change, I find. It's like, I don't want anything to change. Hence dynamic stillness. So it's in a constant state of transformative change while being completely the same all the time. This is the real champion of yoga, because it leads you to that place where all thing is constantly dynamically moving creatively, but simultaneously same. Right? You've seen it. If you close your eyes real quick, you see it right there, those little things moving. That's what I'm talking about. So from a Hindu yogic perspective, that's the relationship between Shiva Shakti. So Shiva is consciousness, base level consciousness, nothing is changing, just steady. And Shakti is the playful expression that dances on top. always making something move and change. So to realize at that depth that it occurs, but operate from the depth, is then to be in the deep, deep water. You know what I mean? And then just looking up and seeing those beautiful waves as they roll through just quite naturally. Can't do nothing about that. That beauty is part of nature. Your mind is also a part of nature. It's going to move. But from where you see it is what we can do for ourselves. Thank you very much, everyone. Had a wonderful time with you all. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Namaste. Who am I? Where am I going? Why am I here? Yeah, exactly. Who am I today in these shoes? I ask that question actually often. Not in the form of who am I, but what would one wear to an event like this? And the event is just going to the grocery store or going to the park with Sage. It is an event.